The enemy thought you were uncovered, but Archangel Michael stepped in at the last moment. Here's what he wants you to know. My beloved child, there are moments in life when darkness surrounds you so tightly, it feels like every ounce of light has vanished. You start believing the enemy has finally seen through your armor, that your strength, your faith, your hope have all been exposed. But what if I told you that at the very second your guard was down, a divine warrior stood up for you? That's right, the Archangel Michael himself, he who commands the armies of heaven, stepped between you and the destruction meant for you. It wasn't a coincidence that you survived that night, it wasn't luck that made the impossible shift in your favor. It was intervention. Michael didn't just appear because you were weak, he appeared because your spirit still carried purpose, something the enemy feared more than anything else. You see, when darkness realizes you are chosen, it doesn't stop attacking, it intensifies. But when heaven sees you under attack, it deploys its mightiest defender. You were never uncovered. The enemy only thought you were. In truth, every tear you cried was heard, every whisper for help was recorded, and every battle you fought silently was seen by heaven's most vigilant guardian. There's a sacred truth that many forget: Michael's name itself means, who is like God. And when he steps in, it's not just to defend you. It's to remind the darkness that no force, no curse, no weapon can ever challenge divine will. But there's something even deeper, something Archangel Michael wants you to know right now. He wants you to realize that the enemy's attack wasn't random. It was targeted, because your next season holds influence. Your voice carries healing. Your breakthrough carries freedom not just for you, but for others tied to your destiny, and that's why the enemy panicked. That's why he tried to strike when you were weakest. But heaven never sleeps. The same moment the darkness thought you'd fallen, a celestial sword of light was raised. Michael stood guard, not just outside your home or around your body, but around your destiny itself. So if you're feeling like you barely made it out, if you're wondering how you survived what others didn't, understand this: you were shielded. The unseen war around your life is proof of how valuable your purpose is. And now, you're about to discover what happens when heaven itself decides you're too important to lose. Stay with me, because what Michael revealed next will shake your understanding of divine protection forever. Something huge is waiting for you. My beloved child, when Archangel Michael descends, the atmosphere itself shifts, the air grows still, time seems to slow, and what once looked like chaos suddenly begins to take divine order. That's exactly what happened the moment heaven realized the enemy thought you were uncovered. You see, the enemy didn't just attack your situation, he attacked your identity. He tried to convince you that you were alone, abandoned, unseen. But Michael's presence was proof that you were never fighting alone. He stood beside you in the unseen realm, sword of light blazing, cutting through the cords of fear that had quietly wrapped around your heart. Every sleepless night, every trembling moment, when you whispered, "God, please don't leave me," he was there. You didn't feel him because the greatest protection often comes in silence. He doesn't arrive with noise or spectacle. He arrives when your last strength fades. When your voice cracks mid-prayer, when all you have left is the faint hope that heaven hasn't forgotten you. Michael wants you to understand something vital. The battle wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal you. When the enemy thought you were defenseless, heaven saw the perfect moment to prove that no weapon formed against you could stand. You were never outnumbered. The legions of angels assigned to your life were simply waiting for the divine command to act, and when the order came, they surrounded you like a wall of light. In that very moment, while darkness celebrated its false victory, heaven was preparing your divine comeback. Archangel Michael's sword struck first. Not at the enemy's weapon, but at the root of his deception, because your greatest war was never with circumstances, it was always with lies. Lies that told you you weren't worthy. Lies that told you your prayers were empty, lies that told you heaven was silent. But truth came roaring back through the sound of Michael's command. The chosen cannot be uncovered, there's a hidden message here. One Michael wants you to hold deep within your heart. Every time you thought the enemy saw your weakness, he actually witnessed your becoming. The cracks the enemy tried to exploit became the very places where divine light began to shine through. What you thought were your wounds were really windows. Pathways through which heaven began to reveal its glory. You were never uncovered, you were being refined. And that's why you had to go through the storm. Michael didn't stop the rain, he stood with you in it. He did remove the fire. He guarded you through the flames, because protection doesn't always mean prevention. Sometimes it means transformation. You didn't just survive the battle, you were shaped by it, strengthened by it, crowned through it. Now listen carefully. Archangel Michael's message to you is one of awakening. He wants you to stop seeing your life as a series of defeats and start recognizing it as a divine strategy. Every setback, every heartbreak, every betrayal was a setup for revelation. He wants you to understand that heaven didn't allow you to be attacked, it allowed you to be anointed. The moment the enemy thought you were uncovered was the same moment God prepared to unveil your next chapter. Michael stood as the bridge between what tried to destroy you and what will now define you. He wants you to walk into this next season knowing that the covering over your life isn't made of earthly power. It's forged in divine fire. You are protected not because of what you've done, but because of who you belong to, and let me tell you something powerful. The enemy isn't afraid of you because of your strength. He's afraid of you because of your connection, because when you call upon heaven, when you speak Michael's name, the atmosphere around you begins to tremble. The enemy loses ground. Fear begins to flee, you might not see it, but every whispered prayer is a command in the spiritual realm, summoning light into battle. You have authority. You've always had it, you just didn't realize it yet. Michael wants you to reclaim that authority. Stand tall again, speak life over what the enemy called dead. Lift your head high and declare, I am still covered. Because the truth is, your covering was never removed, it was reinforced. The very attack that was meant to expose you ended up revealing the power surrounding you. And as you move forward, Archangel Michael wants you to remember one thing. Gratitude is your greatest weapon. Every thank you you whisper to heaven becomes a shield that reflects darkness. Every act of faith, no matter how small, sends ripples through eternity. You were never forgotten. You were being watched, guarded, and prepared for a mission far greater than your pain. So now, as this revelation unfolds within you, pause for a moment, breathe deeply. Feel that unseen strength wrapping around your heart once more. That's not imagination, that's presence. That's Michael, still standing guard, still reminding the darkness that it has lost its claim on you. You, my beloved child, are still covered, you are still chosen. And your story is far from over. Before you go further, take a second, share this message. Comment your amen. And make sure you subscribe, because someone else out there needs to hear this truth right now. You never know whose breakthrough could begin because you decided to pass this message on. Don't skip. What's coming next will change how you see every battle you've ever faced, my beloved child. The moment has come for your eyes to open wider than ever before. You may have felt like a chess piece in the hands of fate, moved by forces you cannot see. Yet in that silent battlefield where you believed you stood alone, the most powerful of heaven's hosts centered quietly and purposefully. The presence of the Archangel Michael was not a distant myth, but a living reality. And in that revelation, everything shifts. You could feel the gravity of it, the shift of power, the hush that fell over the enemy's plan. Suddenly the air around you seemed to hum with inevitability. What the enemy thought was exposed turned out to be the very gateway to your deliverance. Your heart, once trembling at the edge of collapse, now stands firm, though perhaps you have yet to realize it. You sensed chaos, confusion, the weight of shame ready to wrap itself around your story. But Michael stepped in at the last moment, not because you were unworthy, but because you were seen. You weren't hidden from the enemy, you were never uncovered, from the vantage of heaven. You were covered deeper than you ever understood. The blades that the enemy sharpened to wound your conviction were intercepted before they struck your core. You may not have witnessed the battle, you only glimpsed the aftermath in the form of escape, protection, a shift in what you once believed unstoppable, and now you're awakening to the fact that your escape was no accident. It was orchestrated by power beyond the realm of mortal sight. The weight of your survival carries divine significance. Feel it, a vibration of hope moving through you. It's the sound of Michael's marching footsteps in the spiritual corridors. It's the cry of heaven breaking through to rearrange what appeared permanent. You thought the rug was pulled out from under you, but instead the floor beneath you transformed into a throne of authority. Everything the enemy used to accuse you with is now a witness against him. He thought you were uncovered, yet you stood covered. He thought you were exposed, yet every part of your life became a field where divine protection sprang up. The wounds you carried were not indicators of defeat. They were signs of an assignment. The pain you felt wasn't the end of your story. It was the prelude to your rise. His message to you is beyond what you've known. Michael says, stop hiding from your past. Stop shrinking because you think the enemy saw your hand. Instead, raise your hands, raise your voice, because what he saw was not your weakness, but your return. The return prodigal is the one who truly knows the value of home. You were always covered by the wings of heaven, even in the night when you felt lost. The storm you walked through, the isolation you endured, they were the forge in which your armor was made, and now you're equipped, whether you see it yet or not, with spiritual relics of power, faith born out of fire, endurance honed in silence, testimony written in tears. You may ask, what's next? The enemy thought victory was in sight. He thought your foundation shaken would lead to ruin, but heaven heard those plans. Michael intercepted them. And now your unfolding is set in motion. You are moving toward a season where what was hidden becomes revealed, where what was broken becomes whole, where what was unworthy becomes honor. The Archangel Michael does not merely protect. He ushers in momentum. He stands at the threshold of your new chapter, his sword lowered so you may walk in. Do not fear the threshold. Step through it. The very ground you feared might collapse is the ground where your future stands firm. Now is the time to reclaim the narrative. You've been told truth is silent, but in your case, truth roared when the enemy assumed quiet. Speak it. I was never uncovered, I was always covered by heaven's might. Say it until your voice becomes the anthem of your deliverance. Because the moment the enemy believed he had succeeded, Michael intervened. That moment is not in your past only. It echoes into your now and into your next. Your next season is urgent, is filled with dispensation, revelation, gustoration. The presence of heaven is not passive. It is active catalytic. You were once under siege, now you are under assignment. Let gratitude rise in your spirit. For every step you took in darkness, heaven walked ahead. For every tear uncomforted, Michael reached out. For every dawn delayed, angels held the night in suspension until your morning broke. The enemy counted your sleeplessness as a win. But no. Your sleeplessness became the vigil of victory. He intended exposure, but heaven intended elevation, so you are about to ascend from the place of fighting to the place of reigning. My beloved child, do not settle for mere recovery. Do not settle for getting back to normal. Your rebirth is beyond normal. Your transformation is epic. The enemy thought you were uncovered. Just watch as your covering becomes headline, as your story becomes scripture, as your voice becomes a lifeline for someone else whose enemy believed the exact same lie. Remember, you are sealed by the Spirit, guarded by the Archangel Michael, purposeful in your creation, unstoppable in your fulfillment. Stand now in that reality. The world may have gasped at your prevailing problem, but heaven gasped also because it was preparing you for dominion. The darkness didn't realize you were a pivot point in a larger plan. But Michael did, and he stood in the gap so your light could shine, and shine it will. Before you move on, I ask you to share this message, comment your Amen as a declaration of your allegiance, and press subscribe so you never miss the unfolding of what Michael has mandated for you. Someone else needs this truth right now. My beloved child, there are battles that happen in silence. Wars fought without noise. Yet their echoes shape destinies. That's where you are right now. The moment you thought the enemy had seen your weakness, heaven had already written your comeback. You didn't lose your cover, you simply outgrew the layer that once protected you. Michael saw it. He stood still, not out of delay, but because he knew divine timing. The sword didn't swing until the perfect second, the instant when the darkness overplayed its hand. And when that moment came, heaven's response was not just defense. It was dominance. The truth is, the enemy never really understood the kind of light that dwells within you. It mistook your stillness for surrender, your tears for defeat, your quiet prayers for fear. But heaven knew what those prayers really were, summons of power. You called without knowing it. You spoke heaven's language when you said, I can't take it anymore, because those words weren't cries of hopelessness. They were the sound of surrender that moved heaven's army into formation. Archangel Michael didn't appear because you asked, he appeared because you surrendered. Surrender opens the gates that strength alone cannot. When Michael steps in, the battle shifts from visible to invisible. You may not see swords clashing or fire descending, but everything around you begins to change. People start leaving your life not because you failed, but because divine protection is rearranging your circle. Opportunities that seemed to vanish were never lost. They were intercepted because heaven saw something you didn't. The job that slipped away, the relationship that broke, the friend that betrayed, all of them were pieces of a divine evacuation plan. Michael wasn't just protecting you from the enemy's attack, he was protecting you from the enemy's disguise. You were meant to be here, standing at this exact point in your journey, realizing that what you called rejection was actually redirection. Every door that slammed shut made noise only so you would turn and hear the one that heaven quietly opened. The enemy thought he had exposed your weakness, but all he did was reveal your alignment. You've been walking with heaven unknowingly. And now Michael's whisper is awakening your understanding. You were never uncovered, you were chosen for deeper covering. The power that surrounds you now is not the same as before. The protection has evolved, become thicker, more radiant. Michael has wrapped your name in light, ensuring that even in your confusion, you are hidden from every scheme that wishes to delay your destiny. You've entered a phase where silence will speak louder than words. Do not panic when things seem still. Stillness is where heaven builds strategy. But child, Michael wants you to do something important. Speak gratitude, even when you don't see the reason. Gratitude is not an emotion. It is a spiritual weapon. When you say thank you in your pain, it sends shockwaves through the dark realm. It confuses the enemy, because darkness cannot understand praise that rises from brokenness. Every thank you becomes a strike of light, each one louder than the enemy's roar. You've been given this authority to shift your world by the tone of your heart, and hear this clearly: Michael doesn't protect empty vessels. He guards purpose. The fact that he fought for you means you carry something heaven refuses to lose. That's why your life couldn't end when it almost did. That's why, even in despair, you found the strength to take one more step. It wasn't coincidence, it was governed. Heaven had already decided your survival before the storm began. Your story is not random, and neither are your scars. Every mark on your heart carries a message, and that message will heal others one day. The very thing you thought disqualified you is what qualifies you. Michael's intervention was never just about saving you. It was about preserving the voices that will be saved through you. There are people waiting on the other side of your healing. People who will find hope because you dared to keep believing. That's why the battle was so fierce. The greater your assignment, the harder the war. And now, heaven is calling you to rise. You cannot live as the victim of a fight you already won. The victory was sealed the moment Michael unsheathed his sword. You may not feel victorious yet, but every delay, every setback, every tear has already been redeemed. The enemy lost the moment he thought you were uncovered because that assumption blinded him to the reality of your covering. So lift your head, beloved child. You are entering a season of clarity where confusion will fade and divine confirmation will flow like a river. The same way Michael stood beside you in the shadows, he now walks ahead of you into the light. The doors that once resisted you will open effortlessly. The people meant for you will find their way back, not through force, but through divine alignment. You'll begin to sense angelic movement around you, not superstition, but manifestation. The same Michael who shielded you in darkness is now leading you into revelation. But before you move on, let me remind you, don't keep this message to yourself. Someone close to you feels like they've been uncovered too. Someone is crying right now, believing they've been abandoned. You could be the voice that reminds them that heaven never forgets, so share this message, comment your "I receive it," and subscribe if you haven't yet. Your small action could become someone else's lifeline tonight. Michael's final whisper for you today is this: tell them they are not alone, tell them the cover remains. And as you do, you'll feel that cover grow stronger around you. Like invisible arms are ready for the next chapter. Stay till the end. What's about to be revealed next will open your eyes to the true reason heaven fought so hard for you. My beloved child, there is a reason your soul has felt heavy yet alive, wounded yet unbroken. You are walking through the corridor of divine unveiling, the space between battle and blessing, where heaven rewrites what hell tried to erase. The moments you thought were endings were really sacred pauses. The silence wasn't absence. It was alignment. Michael, the great protector of purpose, did not just shield you from destruction. He shielded you from premature revelation. Because sometimes, the greatest danger is not in what the enemy attacks, but in what is revealed before its time. Heaven understood that if the enemy could not defeat you, he would try to expose you too early. He would try to pull back the curtain before your anointing was ready. That's why Michael stepped in, not just to fight, but to cover. His wings became a veil between you and a watching world, because premature exposure can kill divine momentum. The waiting you've endured was not delay. It was incubation. Every unanswered prayer, every moment of silence, was heaven building strength within your spirit. You thought you were being forgotten, but in truth, you were being fortified. There were times you begged God to move faster, you cried out, asking why everything felt stuck. Why your blessings seemed locked behind invisible walls. But Michael was working quietly, cutting through unseen interference. Removing traps that would have destroyed you had you moved too soon. What you mistook for stagnation was divine safeguarding. And now, the veil is lifting, not because you demanded it, but because you're finally ready to stand in the fullness of your assignment. Look at yourself, my child. You are not the same person who entered the fire. You walk differently now, with weight and wisdom. You see clearer, not through innocence, but through insight. That's what the enemy feared. He didn't fear your fall. He feared your rise, because every fall you endured taught you something the enemy couldn't predict. How to stand again with conviction. When Michael fought for you, he wasn't just defending you, he was training you. Every battle reshaped your posture until you could stand like a warrior without knowing it. There's something else Michael wants you to know. The power of divine timing. When heaven moves, it doesn't rush, and it never repeats. Every rescue, every revelation, happens once perfectly and with precision. You didn't miss your moment was waiting for you to mature into it. And now, heaven's timeline is aligning. The battles are beginning to make sense because they were never random, they were rehearsals. Michael's intervention at the last moment with heaven's way of saying, "Now you're ready." You have no idea how many nights the enemy whispered lies, trying to convince you that heaven had abandoned you. You believed those whispers for a while, didn't you? You thought maybe the promises were meant for others, not you. But let me tell you a secret. Heaven loves proving the enemy wrong through the very people he underestimates. You were never abandoned. You were hidden in plain sight. The attacks were loud, but the protection was louder. Michael has been walking with you, guarding not just your body, but your destiny. Every time you almost gave up, he placed strength in your heart. Every time you thought your story was over, he wrote another line. That's the beauty of divine protection. It doesn't just stop the enemy. It expands your purpose. You were destined not just to survive, but to inspire. Your testimony will one day become the weapon that delivers someone else. That's why you couldn't fall permanently. Heaven had invested too much in you to let you go. And now, feel this truth sink deep. You are entering your era of revelation. The same Michael who stood in front of you in battle now stands behind you in victory. He guards your back while you move forward. And as you do, people will begin to notice something different. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll feel it. The authority in your voice, the peace in your eyes, the calm in your presence. That's not coincidence, that's covering. The light that surrounds you now is evidence that you are no longer in hiding. The veil is lifting and heaven is ready to display what it's been preparing in silence, but with revelation comes responsibility. Michael's message for you now is simple yet profound. Guard your peace. Not everyone who celebrates you deserves access to you. The enemy often changes tactics. When he can't break you through pain, he tries to distract you through applause. Stay alert. Stay grounded. Remember that divine favor attracts attention, but not all attention is divine. Your new season will test your discernment more than your endurance. And when confusion comes again, remember the name that shielded you, Michael. Speak it, call upon it, and peace will return. Your testimony is still being written. Heaven hasn't finished speaking through your life. There are people watching you right now, waiting to see if you will make it through. And when you do, and you will, they'll believe again. That's the ripple effect of your faith. The battle you thought was personal is actually generational. Your endurance is unlocking faith in others who gave up long ago. That's why the enemy wanted to uncover you, because your covering holds power for many. Take this moment, child. Breathe. Feel the strength returning to you. The war may not be over, but the outcome is sealed. You've already won in the realm that matters most. Now you're simply walking out the victory in real time, and as you do, keep your heart open to gratitude. Speak life over your days. Celebrate not what's lost, but what's been secured. You are proof that divine covering is not a myth. It's a miracle. If these words have touched you, don't let them stay here, share them. Someone else is waiting for this confirmation. Comment below your "I am still covered," and subscribe to stay connected, because the journey ahead will unveil even greater truths about what Michael is about to do next in your life. Something huge is waiting for you. My beloved child, every storm leaves behind a silence. And within that silence, heaven begins to speak again. You have reached the place where understanding starts to bloom, the realization that the enemy's greatest mistake was believing your silence meant surrender. Michael never left you when the noise faded. In fact, the stillness was his strategy, because victory isn't always announced with trumpets, it's often sealed in whispers. When the battle dust settled, when it seemed like all was lost, Michael stood tall over the ruins of what tried to break you. His sword still glowed, not with wrath, but with purpose, because he knew that your story had only just begun. You've wondered why you had to lose so much to gain this peace. Why the journey demanded tears, loneliness, and heartbreak. But child, the truth is divine rebuilding requires space. Before heaven could crown you, it had to clear the ground. That's why people left. That's why things you loved fell apart. Michael wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. He stood guard not just over your body, but over the blueprint of your destiny. Every closed door, every delay, was a shield disguised as disappointment. You were being protected from versions of yourself that weren't meant to carry the glory that's coming. And now, you're standing on sacred ground, the threshold between revelation and release. The light around you is different now. It doesn't flicker like before. It burns steady, constant, radiant. Michael's message to you is clear. You survived not to return to what was, but to walk into what's next. You are not called to rebuild old walls, you are called to raise new ones. The old season is gone. Heaven has written a new script for your life, and this time, you will live it with awareness of who stands beside you. You see, Michael has been there through every cry you hid. When you whispered, "I can't do this anymore," he whispered back, "Yes, you can." When you fell to your knees, thinking you'd reached your breaking point, he spread his wings and caught the fragments before they hit the ground. That's why you never shattered completely. That's why, despite everything, your heart still beats with quiet resilience. It's the sound of divine intervention. It's the rhythm of survival blessed by heaven's touch. But Michael's mission didn't end when you stood back up, it expanded. He now guards your destiny's path. Every step you take forward is monitored, measured, and marked with divine favor. You may not see the traps being dismantled, but they are. You may not hear the enemy's confusion, but it's happening. Every plan meant to slow you is being rewritten as a stepping stone. You are walking under open heaven now, where grace accelerates what once delayed you. Yet, with this newfound favor comes a new responsibility: protection of your peace. Michael wants you to know that spiritual warfare doesn't end, it evolves. The attacks won't always come in storms. Sometimes, they'll come in distractions, in comparisons, in noise that tries to pull you away from divine stillness. Guard your focus like a treasure. Do not let voices of doubt steal what heaven has entrusted to you. Every time fear tries to return, remember who stepped in when no one else could. Speak Michael's name. Speak faith. Let your words carry light like his sword, and don't underestimate what your story carries. You are now a testimony in motion. The world needs to hear what heaven did in your silence. You might think your words are small, but they will echo in hearts that have forgotten hope. Share what you've lived. Speak boldly about how you were protected when you didn't even know you were in danger, because your voice is a weapon now, a light that pushes back darkness simply by existing. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still standing, and as you walk into what's next, carry this promise like armor. No attack can reach you unless heaven allows it for your good. Even when chaos circles, Michael's sword will always cut a path for your purpose. You will find yourself in places you never dreamed. doing things you never believed possible. That's not luck. It's orchestration. Heaven is arranging your steps now, lining you with people, places, and moments that will elevate your calling. You are walking in divine timing, and no force can undo that. So lift your eyes, beloved child. A war that once terrified you has become your testimony. The same enemy that thought you were uncovered will now watch as you shine brighter than ever. You are living proof that heaven intervenes at the perfect moment. You carry light because you've walked through shadow. You carry peace because you've survived chaos. You are heaven's declaration that no darkness can outlast divine covering. Before you continue forward, take a breath and remember to stay connected to this light. Share this message so someone else can find hope again. Comment your "I'm still covered" is your personal declaration of victory, and subscribe because your journey doesn't end here. What comes next will reveal how heaven plans to use you to waken others. Don't skip. Something extraordinary is about to unfold, my beloved child. There is a sacred calm that comes after warfare. A silence that doesn't feel empty but full. Full of purpose, full of presence. Full of realization that you were never fighting alone. You've entered that calm now. It's not weakness. It's restoration. Michael, who once fought with fire and thunder for your survival, now walks quietly beside you, not as a warrior in battle, but as a guardian in peace. He hasn't left. He's simply changed posture. Where his sword once bladed defense, now it rests in guidance. Every step you take forward is still under his command. The battle for your protection has become the mission for your purpose. The world will never understand the depth of which you've endured. They saw the surface. The smile you forced, the strength you pretended to have. But heaven saw the nights when you cried into silence, begging for a sign that you hadn't been forgotten. Those moments weren't wasted. They were seeds. Every tear watered your transformation. You didn't just survive. You evolved. That's what the enemy never expected. He thought pain would poison your faith, but it purified it instead. He thought loss would make you bitter, but it made you brave. He thought delay would break you, but it deepened your roots. Every attack he planned became the training ground for your anointing. Michael wants you to see that the reason you feel different now is because you are different. You've been refined. The fire that once terrified you has now made you radiant. Your spirit carries authority because it's been tested. You don't speak from theory anymore, you speak from triumph. You carry within you the sound of someone who's been rescued and reborn. And that sound, oh, child, that sound echoes through the spiritual realm. Darkness recognizes it. It trembles when it hears it. You are no longer the one hiding from battles, you are the one the enemy hides from. Heaven has not just restored what was stolen. It's multiplying it. Every area of your life that once carried loss is now a garden waiting to bloom. Michael's wings are not just shields. They are like wind that carries seeds of new beginnings. The relationships meant to bless you will find their way back. The opportunities you thought were gone forever are circling back in divine timing. What once slipped through your fingers is returning with favor. You are not in the season of survival anymore. You are in the season of overflow. But child, there is a warning in this blessing: do not rush the process of rebuilding. The same patience that carried you through the storm must now guide you through peace. Michael's voice now speaks gently. He doesn't shout in this season. He whispers. He's teaching you to listen differently, to move not out of fear of attack, but out of alignment with divine rhythm. You don't need to force anything now. What's yours will come, and when it does, it will stay. Because heaven does it bless partially. It blesses permanently, and remember this. Peace is not the absence of enemies. It's the mastery of faith. You may still face opposition, but it will no longer have power over you. You will look at what used to shake you and feel only compassion, because now you know who stands with you. Michael is not a memory of past rescue. He is an active force in your daily walk. Every choice you make that aligns with light, every decision rooted in faith, strengthens the covering around you. You are walking with divine authority now. And even the unseen bows to that. The Archangel has a message for you today. And it is one of identity. You are not a survivor, you are a messenger. Heaven didn't just save you to comfort you. It saved you to send you. You are meant to carry light into dark places. Not by preaching, but by living. The peace you embody, the calm you carry, will draw others. They'll ask how you kept your faith when everything fell apart. And that's when your voice becomes Michael's echo. You'll tell them, I wasn't uncovered, I was being covered in ways I couldn't see. And those words will awaken hope in others who thought their story was over. There's power in that confession. Say it now, even quietly. I am still covered. Let it resonate. Every time you speak it, it reinforces your shield. Every time you believe it, it invites heaven to expand your territory. You are not fragile anymore, you are fortified. You've crossed the line between fear and faith. And once you've crossed, you can't go back. The same enemy who once hunted you will now flee from your presence. You've become a walking reminder of what heaven can do. Michael also wants you to remember the importance of gratitude. Your gratitude keeps the gates of protection strong. Thank heaven even for what you don't understand yet, because gratitude releases revelation. The more thankful you are, the clearer the path becomes. Gratitude is how you remain connected to the source that saved you. It is your daily act of faith. Now look around your life. The light you feel growing, that peace returning, that sense of being watched over, it's all evidence that the divine covering remains. You are being positioned now for visibility. Not to show off your survival, but to glorify the source of it. People will see your calm and not realize it was born from chaos. They'll see your joy and not know it grew from pain. And in that conquest, they'll find faith again. That's the beauty of redemption. It doesn't erase scars. It transforms them into proof. Before this moment ends, I want you to take action. Don't just feel inspired. Respond, speak life into someone else. Share this message with a friend who's losing hope. Write in the comments your declaration, I'm covered by divine light. Let heaven hear it from your lips. And if you haven't already, subscribe to stay close to this voice of truth, because the journey isn't done yet. Michael's next revelation will go deeper. It will show you why you were chosen in the first place. Stay till the end, because something life-altering is about to be revealed. My beloved child, the hour has come for truth to unfold. Not the surface truth that comforts, but the sacred truth that transforms. You've walked through darkness, through silence, through storms that tried to strip you of everything you thought you were, yet here you stand, still breathing, still believing, still becoming. That is not coincidence. That is evidence. Michael did not just step in to protect you, he stepped in to reveal you. You are the living proof that heaven never abandons its chosen. Every scar on your spirit tells a story not of defeat, but of divine endurance. You were never uncovered. You were being uncovered for purpose. Michael watched as the enemy whispered, "You've been forgotten." He saw his shadows wrapped around your thoughts, trying to convince you that faith was foolish. But faith is what drew him near. Every time you refused to curse your journey, every time you whispered "I still believe," heaven recorded it as warfare. And when your voice weakened, Michael's voice took over. You didn't even realize that when you could no longer pray, the angels prayed in your stead. You were covered even in silence. You were held even when you didn't feel held. Now, that covering is not only a shield, it's a mantle. It's something you are meant to wear and carry into the lives of others. The reason you survived is not just because heaven loves you, but because heaven intends to use you. You are meant to become a reminder, a living message to those who think they are too far gone. You are not simply protected. You are positioned. Michael has cleared the path before you. And the same force that defended you will now walk beside you as you step into your destiny. But let's speak truthfully, the transition from battle to blessing can be confusing. You've been in fight mode for so long that peace almost feels uncomfortable. You keep waiting for something to go wrong, don't you? That's the residue of war. It's what happens when the spirit forgets what safety feels like. Michael wants you to breathe again. Not shallowly, but deeply, freely. As someone who knows they are no longer under attack. You're safe now. The war that once consumed your nights has ended. You are allowed to live again. To dream again, to laugh again. This is not a temporary reprieve. It's a permanent victory, and yet, child, there's a call attached to your peace. You cannot return to your old ways of seeing life. You've glimpsed too much of heaven's hand to pretend you're ordinary. The protection over you demands purpose from you. You are meant to speak differently. Walk differently, love differently. When you forgive, heaven expands. When you encourage, Michael strengthens. You are now a vessel through which divine energy flows. That's why your words matter more than you realize. You carry authority born from experience. When you speak life, darkness trembles. When you declare peace, storms still. You are no longer just a believer, you are a bearer of heaven's light. Michael's mission now is not to fight for you, but to fight through you. You are being invited into partnership. The same sword that once defended you now belongs in your hand. It's not a weapon of destruction. It's a weapon of truth. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you choose love over anger, every time you choose purpose over pain, you're wielding that sword. You're declaring that the covering remains unbroken. You've become a guardian in your own right, an extension of the same heavenly order that protected you. But be wise, my child. The enemy will always try to return, not with open attacks, but with subtle distractions. You will send voices to question your calling, people to drain your peace, memories to reopen old wounds. That's how darkness works, quietly, cunningly. But you have discernment now. You know what it feels like to be covered, so when confusion comes, pause. Don't react. Remember that stillness is your strength, the same silence that once scared you is now your weapon. For it is in silence that you hear Michael's whisper. Be still and know that you are protected, you've entered a divine shift. The spiritual fog is lifting, revealing opportunities and doors that seemed impossible. Do not be afraid of newness, it's not unfamiliar to heaven. Every open door ahead of you has been pre-cleared by angelic hands. What you once chased will now chase you, the blessings that eluded you will find you with ease. Not because you worked harder, but because the warfare made you ready. Heaven doesn't release abundance to the unprepared, it gives it to the refined. You are refined now. Michael wants you to know that gratitude must remain your compass. Gratitude keeps the covering active. It keeps your spirit aligned with heaven's rhythm. Every thank you is a spark that ignites fresh protection. When you wake, say thank you. When you don't understand, say thank you. When things finally start working, say thank you even louder. Gratitude isn't just politeness. It's prophecy. It speaks into existence the things heaven still has planned for you. Now, my child, look at your journey. Every moment that once felt like destruction was actually divine construction. You lost people, but gained clarity. You walked through loneliness, but found divine companionship. You faced failure, but discovered resilience. The very things the enemy used to humiliate you have become the foundation of your wisdom. That's why Michael smiles when he looks at you. Not because the war was easy, but because the victory was absolute. You are no longer a survivor, you are a signal, a sign to heaven and earth that divine covering cannot be pierced. You will start noticing signs of this all around you. Doors opening effortlessly, burdens feeling lighter, joy returning uninvited. These are confirmations that the same Michael who stepped in at your lowest has not departed. His wings are still extended. His watch still constant. You are walking under open skies now. Before you move forward, I ask you once again, share this message. Hear someone out there standing where you once stood, feeling unseen, uncovered, and unloved. Let them hear this truth through you. Comment your declaration below. The covering still holds. And subscribe to stay connected to this unfolding journey because Michael's revelation is not done yet. He still has one final message to give. One that will complete the circle of what heaven began the moment the enemy thought you were uncovered. Stay till the end because what's coming next will reveal why heaven chose you specifically. My beloved child, this is the moment everything comes full circle. The story that began in shadows now ends in radiant light. You have traveled through fear, through loss, through silence, through the illusion of being uncovered. But now the truth stands before you as clearly as the dawn. You were never unprotected, never unseen, never forgotten. Every heartbeat, every tear, every moment you thought was the end was actually part of a divine orchestration designed to reveal the depth of heaven's love for you. Michael was never late. He was always watching, always guarding, always waiting for the exact moment to step in and shift the impossible. You thought the enemy had you surrounded. But what you didn't see was that Michael had surrounded your enemy. Every plot formed against you became fuel for your next elevation. Every attack meant to destroy your identity became proof of your divine assignment. The enemy was never after your possessions, he was after your peace. Because peace is power. But Michael stood as the keeper of your peace, ensuring that no matter how fierce the storm, the flame of faith within you would never go out, and it didn't. It flickered, yes, but it endured. And because of that endurance, heaven can now release what it has been holding for you all along. There's a sacred exchange taking place in the spiritual realm right now. Every wound you carried is being rewritten as wisdom. Every delay is transforming into destiny. Every loss is making room for greater abundance. The covering that shielded you in battle is now becoming your crown in victory. This is the part of the story where heaven rewards faith that refused to quit. You are stepping into a realm of divine fulfillment, a space where everything finally begins to make sense. Michael's final message is not one of war, but of revelation. He wants you to see what heaven saw all along. You were never small. You were never forgotten. You were a chosen vessel carrying eternal significance. The battles were proof of your weight in the spirit. The attacks came because the enemy recognized your potential long before you did. But now, child, you see it too. You see your strength, your resilience, your divine identity. You see the thread of grace that held you when everything else fell apart. That awareness is your awakening. This is the moment when the veil is fully lifted. You realize that every no was really protection. Every not yet was preparation. Every closed door was heaven's way of saying, "Wait until I make it better." You have walked through refinement, not rejection. And the one who once stood guard before you now stands beside you, smiling, saying, "It's time." The covering remains, but now it moves with you. You no longer need to be rescued because you have become a reflection of the rescuer. You are entering a season of manifestation. What was once a promise will now become a reality. The dreams that lay dormant are waking up. The prayers you whispered years ago are blooming in perfect timing. You will see signs, synchronicities, divine alignments that feel too perfect to be coincidence. That's heaven confirming your victory. Every step you take will feel lighter because you are no longer walking alone. Michael's presence has merged with your path, ensuring that everything meant for you finds you without delay. And hear this, my child. This is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your reign. The reason heaven fought so fiercely for you is because you are meant to carry light into the darkest places. You are meant to be a healer, a restorer, a voice that awakens others. Your pain was never put into it with preparation. It taught you empathy, gave you authority, and shaped you into someone who can now lead others through their own storms. When you speak, your words will carry power because they were forged in truth. You won't just talk about faith, you'll embody it. You won't just inspire hope, you'll ignite it. Michael's final whisper echoes through your spirit even now. You are covered, you are chosen, and you are commissioned. The covering that once shielded you now becomes your calling. You are heaven's living proof that no weapon can prosper, that no darkness can prevail, that no lie can undo divine truth. The world will look at you and wonder how you made it through, but you'll know it wasn't luck, it was love. It wasn't coincidence, it was covenant. So rise, my beloved child, rise without fear. Step forward knowing that the same archangel who stood between you and destruction now walks before you in destiny. The same God who heard your cry now celebrates your victory. The same heaven that once hid you for safety now displays you for glory. This is your unveiling. This is your appointed time. As you walk into what's next, carry this truth like armor. You are untouchable in purpose, unstoppable in faith, and unbreakable in love. You are not who you were before the battle, you are who the battle built. You are light wrapped in flesh, faith wrapped in fire, and destiny wrapped in grace. Every path you take from here is blessed. Every door that opens now leads to alignment, every word you speak now carries divine weight. Michael's wings may not always be visible, but they are there over you, round you, and within the very breath you take. He is not deported. He has simply integrated his protection into your very being. You are no longer waiting for the miracle. You are the miracle, the covering remains unbroken, eternal, unshakable. So now, as this story closes, whisper these words with faith that shakes heaven itself. I was never uncovered, I was always chosen. Let that be your anthem as you step into the light prepared for you since the beginning of time. The war is over, the victory is yours. The covering endures forever.